Hello and welcome to this episode of Point Counterpoint. We are here to discuss and deliberate an issue which is extremely become contentious, an issue that is contentious, an issue that is worrying, and an issue which is also confusing to a certain extent. We are looking at a unique situation in Goa connected to the issuance of Portuguese passports and the consequences thereof. For people who will be watching this telecast outside Goa would probably wonder why we are here discussing this. We are very clear that since 1961, after the Portuguese left Goa, the issue here is that Goans have been, some people say that there is a right, but there are laws and regulations which allow Goans to carry on the process and culminate the process of acquiring Portuguese citizenship. And there are a lot of contentious issues linked to this. They are linked to registering of birth in Portugal, acquiring an identity card, and thereafter acquiring a passport. So up to now, there was relative ease in this whole in this entire process. The reason why we are here and the reason why this calls for a detailed discussion is because there was a circular issued on the 30th of November 2022 whereby it says that cases of surrender can be categorized as under, which basically meant that people who surrender their passports after acquiring foreign citizenship, and I'm restricting myself only to these two words, foreign citizenship. I'm not even mentioning the word passports. Foreign citizenship. In this case, they can surrender their passports under various categories. However, there is one category which states that a person who gets the Indian passport issued or reissued by suppressing material information about his or her obtaining foreign nationality, irrespective of the fact that the passport holder has used it for travel or not, in this particular case, their passports will have to be revoked. Now, since this circular has come into effect, there are many Goans who have acquired their Portuguese passports, and when they go to surrender their Indian passport as per law and as according to the law and regulations, they are asked, or they have been asked, to not only give them the date when they acquired their Portuguese passport, which is absolutely fine, but other dates like when did they acquire their identity card, it was called the billet, now it's called the cartão, and even going way back, and they are asked when their births were registered in Portugal. Now the contentious issue here is that often people registered their births, Goans registered their births in Portugal without necessarily carrying out any other process, which means they did not move from the registration of births to the acquiring of their cartão or their Portuguese passports thereof. Some of them were shocked when they finally decided to acquire the Portuguese passports, when the background check was done or when all the dates were found out, on the discovery that that many of them may have registered their births after which they acquired their Indian passports or reissued their Indian passports. In that case, this particular section as per this new circular is being applied, and it is being stated that they are the people who deliberately suppress material facts when they applied for their Indian passports or reissued of their Indian passports. Even up to this stage, there is no cause for worry. If your passport is revoked, you have your Portuguese passport, and there's no problem. The problem starts or has started when people have started applying for the Overseas Citizenship Card, OCI, so Overseas Citizen of India card status. When that application is being made, they are getting letters, or we have one case where a letter has come which states this, and this is interesting. It states, and I won't take the name of the person, but I'll quote from the letter that they are getting from the FRRO Bombay, Team OCI FRRO Bombay. It states, this is in reference to your trailing mail below. You are not eligible to apply for OCI registration as the previous Indian passport of the applicant had been revoked by concerned issuing Indian authority. Which basically means that the OCI, which is almost seen as a natural corollary after surrendering your Indian passport if you apply for it, that is being denied to you. So which means that you do not have any legal right to stay in India under the OCI status. You can apply for a visa like any other foreigner can. This is where we are at. So the worrying part is this. The other issues can be discussed and so on and so forth, and there's lots to get into. I will first introduce a very, very eminent panel of speakers, experts who are probably the best minds to talk about this. On my extreme right is Iris Rodrigues, and he needs no introduction, Advocate Iris Rodrigues. And he has been very, very clear about his renunciation of the Indian passport and the acquiring of the Portuguese passport. But in addition to that, he's very well qualified to talk on all these matters. Kennedy Afonso, of course, he's a public activist, runs a NGO called Goans for Goa, and also has been kind of helping to gather a lot of public opinion, and he's meeting and speaking to people who've faced the very problems that I have laid down just a little while ago. On my left is Advocate Radha Gracias, again needs no introduction, one of the finest legal and other minds in Goa, and somebody who has studied this matter very, very deeply and can speak on this and of course open up a lot of windows which are going to be important. And on my extreme left, I have Joseph Clive Sequeira, who's the Managing Director of Media Promotions Private Limited, but he is here in his capacity as a person who is who has a lot of friends and acquaintances who have gone through this whole process and are feeling this, feeling this pain of this so-called, the rejection of the OCI and other issues thereof. So the issue is he's of course here because he has a lot of anecdotes to talk about. I will first start with you. If you can just explain in brief as to what your close friends have faced, and then I'll get on to Iris and Radha and Kennedy.
So basically, like any other applicant, when the trend was going that if in case you have a Portuguese passport and you want to renounce your Indian citizenship, you go to the passport office and hand over the passport, Indian passport, and along with the cancellation of your voting card and your ration card.
Yes.
And you get a surrender certificate and you get a cancel stamp on your passport.
Right.
But January 23, I was accompanying a friend of mine, and we went to the passport office, and because he just acquired his Portuguese passport the previous week, and he did all the formalities to renounce his or surrender his Indian passport with intention or with the trend that was going on at that time that you will be penalized for some amount,
right,
and you will be given your passport back cancelled, and you will be given a surrender certificate, and you go and apply for
but
a visa.
But he had a kartav.
He had a kartav.
Right.
He had a kartav way back, probably in 2011 or so.
Right.
But the question was,
and he also had an Indian passport.
He had an Indian passport at the same
Okay.
time. Yeah. No doubt he was probably having a registration, but everybody was naive about it.
Right.
At that period of time.
Right.
Everybody knew that the system was accepting you and they were fining you for that. And nobody went by the present situation that the Kerala High Court or something passed a judgment and the whole notification to come in November.
Right.
So the revoked case was, the passport was revoked, the ends were cut, and the passport was handed over. Now, I asked the passport officer, I said, why don't you give us some explanation to this? Why? He said, I can't give you an explanation, you go to FRRO and find out. So FRRO was ignorant about it, and it remained that way from February to October. Till today, the visa has not come. And whoever got the visa, applied for OCI, are rejected, many of them. are rejected point blank that you're a revoked case, we can't hand over the visa.
Okay, Joseph, I'll come back. Iris, the issue is, there are two issues here. Okay, one is having your feet on both boats, the Indian boat and the Portuguese boat. That is one part. If we accept that that is incorrect, that you cannot have the Karta and have the, suppose for argument's sake, of course, I mean, Radhanand will explain and you can explain whether even that is valid or not, but let us for the time being accept that that is, you can't have your feet on both boats once you've acquired your Karta. Okay. But the point here is that can be settled through a penalty or through a fine or whatever. Are you surprised by the fact that OCIs are not being issued because of this? And where does that thought flow from?
See, this issue has been going on for so many years.
Yeah.
And in fact, the government and the courts should lay this issue to rest once for all.
Right.
Now, in 2015, the central government had issued a memorandum
Yes.
directing that all these cases be kept on hold and that status quo be maintained. A team of the central government visited Goa and they did some study and they went back and issued this circular, and the circular says very clearly it has been decided to maintain status quo in the state of Goa regarding citizenship issue till a final decision in this regard is taken by the central government.
Right.
So, 2015, today we are in 2023.
Right.
That final decision has not been taken. So, I think this issue has to be laid to rest once for all. There needs to be clarity, and I think one way of doing this would be by because the central government in 2014, during that election, had promised that they would consider dual citizenship.
Right.
So, if that is done, this whole issue is resolved. But today there is unnecessary panic in the minds of the people and it's unfair. So, I think the government should take a holistic view
Right.
of this whole issue
Right.
and find a solution and lay this issue to rest.
Right. Are you surprised at this OCI rejection?
See, because any decision taken by the government has to be a well thought decision,
Right.
and a decision that is in consonance with the law. So, if there is a provision in law to that, which I have not seen, but this issue can be resolved
Right.
if the government has the will, and I am sure the government should, in public interest, you
Correct.
know, because this is an issue not affecting only Goa, it's
Right.
affecting. So, once the issue of dual nationality is resolved by the central government as promised, I am sure the Prime Minister should take a lead now, you know, in the forthcoming session of Parliament, amend the law and allow dual nationality and resolve this issue once for all.
Okay, Kennedy, I'll just come back to you. I'll just bring in Radha on this. Another couple of questions I'll again repeat. Are you firstly surprised at this OCI rejection? And the issue here is this the revocation that they're doing for suppression of material facts and Goans are not coming forward to disclose their registration of births. Is this correct?
See what happens to Sujoy, I have a different concept of the whole thing.
Right.
You see what happens under Article 9 of our Constitution.
Right.
It says no person shall be a citizen of India if he has voluntarily acquired the citizenship of any foreign state. Now this is where the trouble starts.
Right.
You see, we Goans do not voluntarily acquire Portuguese citizenship. Under the Portuguese law, we continue to be their citizens if we were born prior to 1961 or descendants of those people. There is a difference between acquiring foreign citizenship and being citizenship of that country by birth.
Right.
Now, so let me go further. So, as far as Portugal is concerned, we are their citizens by birth. Now, we do not register our births in Portugal. Birth cannot be registered twice. Birth can only be registered once.
Right.
Even Indians who are born abroad, they bring their birth here and they transcribe it. There is a difference between transcribing a birth and registering a birth.
Right.
Now, what happens here? Those births which were registered in Goa when Goa was part of Portugal,
Right.
they are now transcribed
That's
in the
right.
Portuguese Central Register because they acknowledge us as citizens. We don't apply for citizenship.
Got it.
Now, this is the difference which, see, no one seems to have made. Now, no, I will want to go ahead.
Sure.
Now, see, the whole problem therefore is under Article 9, we do not voluntarily acquire foreign citizen. We don't acquire at all. We are their citizens.
Right.
We transcribed our births there as per their law, and we continue to be a citizen. Now, how did we become Indian citizens? We became Indian citizens by virtue of the Citizenship Order 1962, March 28, 1962. It says, every person who or either of whose parents were or any of whose grandparents were born before the 20th day of December 1961 in the territories now comprised in the Union Territory of Goa and Daman shall be deemed to have become citizens of India on that day. So, we became citizens by this order.
Right.
Fine enough. But by the order of the Indian government, we do not cease to be Portuguese citizens. Only the Portuguese government can cancel our citizenship. So, therefore, by order of force of law of both countries, we are citizens of both countries. You understand? So, we do not, to come within the purview of...
Even though there is no dual citizenship, even though there is a, see, India does not allow dual
No,
citizenship.
India does not allow dual citizenship to those who voluntarily acquire. We are not voluntarily acquiring anything. We are their citizens by their law. All that we do is transcribe our births there. So, this difference has to be understood and decided upon.
What about descendants of people who were born before 61?
No, even if you are born before, if your father's birth is transcribed there, your birth is also transcribed there. You understand?
No, but even if you, suppose you were born in Goa, 2 generations later.
Yes.
Suppose you were born in a hospital in Goa.
Yes.
Your grandfather birth may have been registered
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
What happens in that case?
No, because the law, under the Portuguese law, we are not, see, if we apply for Portuguese citizenship, we will become naturalized citizens.
Correct.
There will be an order naturalizing as a citizen by the Portuguese government, which doesn't happen. We are just registered, birth is transcribed because they take us as their citizens.
No,
so,
okay.
there is no grant of any
See, I'll
citizenship.
give you an example.
Yeah.
So, see, for instance, your father or your grandfather would fall in this category. Maybe
Yes.
you would fall into this
Yes,
category.
yes.
Now, what about your children who were born in India or
Yeah,
in Goa?
yeah.
Okay. My point is, if they had to register their births, they would have to go and register it. It's not automatic, right?
Yeah. No, their birth is registered here,
That's right.
but transcribed there, because under their law we are Portuguese citizens.
Correct. But it has to be it cannot be automatically transcribed because the
No,
central registry is there.
I may do it, but I am not voluntarily acquiring for, that's what I am trying to say.
Right.
We are not voluntarily acquiring foreign citizenship. We are already their citizens by their law, operation of their law. So, that's why I see voluntarily acquiring means there has to be a physical act by me where I go and apply. Have I applied for Portuguese citizenship? No.
Okay, you may not, but there are so many people in Goa
Yeah.
who go there and register their births later.
They don't register, they transcribe. See, the difference is between transcription and registration.
Right. Okay.
Transcription is permitted because we are their citizens.
Right.
Followed, no?
Right.
If we register,
Even if you're 2 generations down the line.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now the point here is the next question. I'll bring Kennedy into this. See, Kennedy, you've been helping out a lot of people as far as this is concerned. Now the point is the whole question is the revocation of passports and the denial of OCIs. The point is you've also met a lot of people there. Just explain to us the kind of trouble that people are going through.
I myself have a friend of mine
Right.
who has gone through this ordeal, and he is the one who approached me and he said he was completely
Right.
lost, confused, so he didn't
Right.
know what to do,
Right.
whether to apply for whether to, first of all, he has still not revoked his passport.
Right. Okay.
He's still holding on because he's saying, I'll wait, I don't do. So by waiting also he incurs a fine of 10,000.
He has a 30-day grace period anyway.
30 days period, and then again another, every month there's a fine of 10,000.
Right.
So you see, that is worry that he's worried about.
Right.
What should I do?
Right.
His whole family is worried.
Right.
Everybody is into a kind of a, should I, at one point in time they were worried because X1 visas were not issued.
Right.
They were told to exit the country.
Right.
Where do I go in such a short period of time?
They have exited the country.
They had to, because if you're not issuing a
Right.
X1 visa, what is the option
You are
left?
illegally staying in this country.
Yeah.
So they were not even given X1
No,
visas.
no, they were not giving X1
So they had
visa.
to go to Portugal?
They had to go to Portugal or get out of the country and come back on a visit visa.
Right.
So which makes them, like they are put on the run, basically.
Correct.
Where would you go?
So they went out and came back on a visit visa?
Came back on a
And
visit.
there are goans.
And there are goons who have suffered.
And they are goans,
Yes,
locals.
locals.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is something that is worrying everybody.
Right.
And
So this has happened after this circular? and
after
this-
this circular
okay.
has come.
Okay.
Yeah. And now we are trying to, because they are all a scattered lot,
Right.
we are trying to bring them together so that at least, find a way.
So according to you, how many such cases would be there?
I think right now on the record, some time back, it was that more than 90 cases are already registered in the passport office.
The
revoked
cases.
Right. Revoked cases. And I think
No, it's much more.
But I think it's much more, because what is happening in Goa is,
Right.
you see, most Goans, as they say, they register their assent and they obtain their billet,
Right.
and they wait.
Right.
And they wait for years.
Right.
Some of them.
Right.
So what will happen during this time?
Yes.
Their passports are getting
Renewed.
they are
Renewed.
expiring.
Right.
So, and you see, it will put, I think, at least a lakh of Goans into trouble in the days to come. That's a big picture.
I just want your view on this, because since you have acquired the Portuguese passport. According to you, and we have taken Radha's views, of course, with all due respect, and we have taken, because what he said, the very important points that he's raised. According to you, at what stage or at what point do you actually become a Portuguese citizen? Is it the time when your birth is registered, or is it the time when you get your carta?
In fact, I fully concur with what
Radha Rao said.
Senior Advocate Radharao Gracious has said.
Yes.
But now on this, there is earlier the stand of the Indian government was that the date you obtain your billet, you became a Portuguese national. Now they say the date of your assent, you are a Portuguese national. So there's no clarity on this.
Right.
So I think the government and the courts
Yeah.
should take a call on this,
Right.
because this issue cannot be hanging on for years together.
Right.
So this issue has to be brought to a logical conclusion.
Right.
Now, I personally feel that maybe the date you acquire your cartão
Yes.
would be a date that you acquire Portuguese nationality, because as Radha has said, that merely transcribing your birth there doesn't, so there's no clarity.
Right.
Sujoy, yeah.
Yes,
See-
please carry on.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Now see what happens now. We as citizens are governed by law, not by circulars. A circular is essentially correspondence between government departments. That is not a law for us.
Right.
Now let us see what the law
This
is.
is a very important thing.
What is the law? The law is regarding citizenship, Article 9, 6, 7, 8, 9 of the Constitution, 5, 6, all those. Then the Indian Citizenship Act 1955. Now this section says, let me read section 9, termination of citizenship. Any citizen of India who by naturalization, registration, otherwise voluntarily acquires, again voluntarily is there, that's important,
Right.
or has at any time between 26 January 1950 and the commencement of this act voluntarily acquired the citizenship of another country shall upon such acquisition, or as the case may be, such commencement cease to be a citizen of India. Now important is from 26 January 1950 and commencement of this act, which is 1955.
Right.
In 1955 we are still Portuguese citizens. We have become citizens of India in 1962 by the citizenship order. So this would actually not apply to us. You see, these laws were framed before Goa became part of India.
Right.
So you can't try us by these laws. But assuming that this is so, it says if any question arises as to whether or when, how any Indian citizen has acquired the citizenship of another country, it shall be determined by such authority in such manner and having regard to such rules of evidence may be prescribed. So therefore, assuming that acquisition or registration in Portugal means that you are a foreign national, it also provides the procedure. Now let me read the procedure.
Yeah.
Now we have the Citizenship Rules 2009.
Right.
Now Rule 25 says, when it is decided to make an order under section 1 or section 10, which I have just read, depriving a person of his citizenship of India, a notice under subsection 4 of that section shall be given.
Right.
In a case where the person's whereabout is not known is known by causing the notice to be delivered to him personally or by sending it to him by post.
Right.
On receipt of this notice, the affected person may make an application for referring this case to a committee of inquiry under subsection 5 of section 10. If that person is in India at the time when the notice is given to him, within a period of 3 months from the date of the notice. So we have 3 months to answer, they have to give me a notice.
Right.
If any other case where within such time being not less than 3 months from the date of the notice, as the central government may specify, provided the central government may in a special circumstance so and so.
Right.
Committee to follow procedure specified in schedule 2 in the holding inquiry. Committee of inquiry appointed under section 10 shall, while holding the inquiry under subsection 6 of this section, follow the procedure laid down in schedule 2. Every order made under section 10 depriving a person of the citizenship of any shall be published in the Gazette.
This
So,
is dated which year?
this is 2009. These are the rules.
Right, right.
See, now let me elaborate.
Correct.
So therefore, we have a constitution.
Right.
We have Citizenship Act under the constitution, and we have rules framed under the act. This is what governs us, not those circulars. Now that circular is grossly in violation of this rule, which mandates that if they feel that I have violated the law, I have given up citizenship, issue me a notice and 90 days to reply to that notice, hold an inquiry, I can read evidence. Where is this done, man? You are simply terminating summarily, arbitrarily terminating my citizenship. That is not what is provided under the law. So therefore, on this count alone, all these violations, terminations of citizenship should be thrown out.
And you made another very important point, is that you mentioned the year 1955. There are
Yes,
two
yes.
rules and 2 laws
Yes.
which were dated 1955.
1955.
Which was
the Citizenship Act is 1955.
Correct.
The rules are 2009.
the Citizenship Act. So the Citizenship Act itself
Requires that rules should be followed.
but the Act itself precedes 61.
61, yes.
Correct.
1955 it
No,
is.
but I'm sure there is another law which says that all laws in existence at that point of time automatically will be followed in Goa post.
Yes, there is. But what
Yes.
I am saying here is, see,
Yes.
any citizen of India who by naturalization,
Right.
registration,
Right.
otherwise voluntarily acquires or has at any time between the 26th January and the commencement of this act, voluntarily acquired. That means from 26th January to 1955.
Right.
It doesn't bring into purview those after 1955.
Right.
You understand? No, there may be a law, but this essentially applies to these citizens.
Right.
So therefore, my contention is, even assuming that transcription of your names in Portugal constitutes voluntarily acquiring foreign citizenship, you still have to follow Rule 25, read with Section 10 of the Citizenship Act, to terminate my citizenship. Give me an opportunity. I will go argue my case, and if I get a chance, if I can satisfy the committee,
Right.
then I continue my Indian citizenship.
Right.
This has been deprived to me.
Yeah.
I would like to
correct.
say something
Yeah,
on
sure.
what Dr. Radha said.
Yes.
I think he has made a very valid point here.
Right.
See, before the 30th November 2022 circular came in, the passport office was actually kind of rewarding those people who came to surrender by issuing them a penalty, and then they issue the surrender certificate.
Okay.
And when the circular came in, they start punishing the people by revoking the letters. And this is very harsh.
Correct.
There was no, the offense was the same before the circular, but they were issuing a penalty and giving them a surrender certificate. But after the circular, they started revoking, and the people were lost.
Revoking
Right.
without even taking their consent.
Yes. Joseph, please continue.
Without taking their consent, like how
No, not consent, without hearing me.
hearing me.
You have to hold an inquiry,
Correct.
give me an opportunity. There is a committee constituted under the law. They should refer all complaints. See, all that a passport officer has to do, has to refer all cases where he feels that I have violated the law I acquired for it to the committee.
Correct.
The committee will pass an order, and that would then be gazetted. I don't see the passport officer can suo moto individually without anything cancel my citizenship. That authority is not conferred on the passport officer.
So Joseph, based on what all of you all have said, and especially how Advocate Radha has explained, so do you feel that the passport authorities have completely exceeded their brief, and as Radha said, they are following one section of a circular in violation of the Citizenship Act and rules thereof?
Correct.
And what can be done about it right now?
No, I feel everybody has the right to be heard, like how Advocate Radha has said, and has to be intimated as to, or has to be given options, and has to be made aware
Right.
what are the implications. As to when I had asked the officer, he was ignorant about anything. He could not even explain to me why was the passport revoked.
Right.
So he just point blank told me, you go to FRRO and find out for yourself. That was all. So we got a passport in our hands, revoked with cut edges,
Right.
and that's it. Without even taking our consent or without even asking us, without even questioning. I think the authorities should be more friendly with the people to say, okay, if you want this to happen, we'll go by the rule,
Right.
and this will happen. If you want to, the options has to be put on the table
Right.
for a citizen.
Right.
So there could be a person who could say, if at all that's the implication, that I will continue to be an Indian citizen.
Right.
There
right.
could be a person who would opt for that. If at all the person says, okay, I don't want Indian citizenship, I'm ready to go by the implications
Right.
that you pronounce.
Right.
I will go with the passport, with the Portuguese passport. So basically, the option is not even given to you. You have no idea what's going to happen next.
Okay.
Sujoy, see what happens now.
Sure, yeah.
Now, earlier,
Yeah.
when a person went to surrender, they would impose a fine and accept your surrender.
Right.
Now, apparently, there's some judgment of the Kerala High Court, which unfortunately I have not read.
Right.
I've just learned that there is a judgment of
Right.
the Kerala High Court,
Right.
which says that the passport officer has no powers
Huh.
to impose a fine.
Right.
If they have no powers, they have no powers.
Right.
So does that mean that because you have no powers to impose a fine, you revoke the passport? Where is the law which empowers you to do it?
Do it, correct.
If you could do it by imposing a fine, all that High Court has said is you can't impose a fine. So it is still means the law is still the same.
Right.
You have to revoke the passport and don't impose a fine.
Right.
Not revoke, you have to accept the surrender of the passport.
Correct. You cannot
but don't
revoke the
impose, do not impose a fine.
Right.
If you, the law says you
It does
can't.
not permit him to revoke the passport.
Yes.
Correct.
I mean, this is a very, very strange interpretation.
Okay, there is one paragraph in the letter written by MP Francis Sardina to Amit Shah, the Home Minister, and I'll just quote from this paragraph. Just want your views and Dr. Rodriguez's views on this. Furthermore, the Indian Passport Act 67 requires individuals who acquire foreign citizenship to voluntarily renounce their Indian citizenship and surrender the Indian passport in the stipulated period. They are also required to get a surrender certificate. The point here is, what my question here is, that do you renounce your citizenship by voluntarily acquiring a foreign citizenship, or do you renounce your Indian citizenship by voluntarily renouncing your Indian citizenship? In the sense that, does it flow from your voluntary acquisition of the new passport or the new citizenship, or does it flow from the voluntary renunciation or the cancellation of your current citizenship?
See, what I would interpret it as,
Yeah.
forget the Goan case where we are on different footing,
Yeah.
where we do not voluntarily acquire foreign citizenship.
Right.
Suppose tomorrow I acquire citizenship of the United Kingdom.
Right.
Now, I am not on the same footing as a citizenship of Portugal.
Right.
Because that's a different state.
Right.
Now, I will have to apply for the UK citizenship.
Right.
Now, once UK grants me a citizenship,
Right.
then this question of renouncing Indian citizenship will come.
Right.
First, I have to get citizenship of a foreign country, then get their passport.
Right.
And when I have that passport in hand, I go to the Indian passport office, say, look here, I've got a Indian
Right.
UK passport.
Right.
I am surrendering my Indian passport
Right.
and surrender.
Right.
But in the case of, see, we are in a piquant situation in the case of Portuguese passport.
Right.
As I have said, that we do not apply for Portuguese citizenship. We do not register. We merely transcribe. Now let us assume that a Portuguese citizen
Right.
who has applied for and obtained a Portuguese passport, surrendered his Indian passport, and got OCI.
Right.
Now he comes back here after 10 years and asks for restoration of his Indian citizenship. The government of, there is a procedure provided. The government of India grants him Indian citizenship.
Right.
But his registration continues in Portugal, man. So how do you now hold that having a certificate, your birth in the central register of Portugal disqualifies you from being Indian citizen? That cannot be cancelled. That is there.
Right.
But you are still allowing me to be an Indian citizen. That has happened. That has happened with Irish.
Right.
See, Irish now has got an Indian citizenship,
No, Portuguese citizenship.
Portuguese citizenship. He has got, but if some point of time he comes here,
And decides to take an Indian passport.
Indian citizen, here his registration will continue in Portugal. So will the government say you are there, get it cancelled? Who will cancel that? It is there already. See, these are things that are only for Goa. We are in a very strange situation. Therefore, some clarity has to be made available here.
I know of cases, at least 2 cases of government servants here, and this was informed to me today, they one person who was working in one of the government offices decided to actually cancel his birth in Portugal because he was nervous about these goings on. So he cancelled his birth in Portugal. He was told very categorically that fine, since you've cancelled your birth, fine, but you will not be allowed to become a citizen of Portugal again. Okay. Now what happens to that person in that case? Does he also automatically, it cannot be ghar wapsi as you said. He can't automatically acquire Indian citizenship based on that. He has to apply again.
No, no. You see, what under our law.
Yeah.
No, Suresh, there is, as far as I know, there is nothing like of cancelling your birth there.
I see.
Once you are registered in Lisbon, in their records, there is no procedure to cancel your birth.
Right.
No, no. What would happen now? Suppose you are you want Indian citizenship.
Right.
You do not first give up your Portuguese nationality. Under the law, you have to first apply for Indian citizenship,
Right.
and they will grant it to you. Because suppose you first renounce there and also don't have Indian citizenship, then you become stateless.
Right. Right.
So therefore, the
Right.
two processes, according to me, should go simultaneously.
Somebody is correct. Okay. Okay.
You will have to, because if you suppose you revoke Portuguese nationality first, then how do you become Indian citizen?
Right.
Unless India, government of India grants you.
Right.
So you may have to surrender your Portuguese nationality
Right.
and then be a stateless person.
Till this happens.
If your government of India insists that you first surrender that one.
Right. 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 Okay. Anis, I'll bring another dimension to this discussion. Now the issue is, now let us look at children of parents who are facing this kind of a problem. Now your Indian passport has got revoked. Your son or daughter who may be a minor also, who may be 15, 16 years old, they have Indian passports. Okay. Now they continue to be Indian citizens. 9 times out of 10, there's a very high possibility that their births are also registered there or transcribed there, as the case may be. What happens to these citizens? Because they still have their Indian passports. Their births, as Radha said, in all likelihood are registered or transcribed. In all probably. What happens in those cases? Because they also come under some kind of a problem then.
Yeah, that's the reason I'm saying that this issue now has become very complex.
Right.
It is not as easy as it looks. Okay, so this will have to be deeply considered by the authorities. Okay, the government would have to look into this issue, and then of course the courts will also rule, because this whole thing will this month or next month land in the courts, I'm sure.
Right.
You know, so the courts will also rule on the legality of this whole action being taken.
Right.
But as far as I'm concerned now, for example, there was talk that I was a Portuguese national.
Right.
Not the central government had appointed the North Goa and South Goa collectors
Yes.
to look into these cases.
That's right. Correct.
And over the years,
Yes.
the North Goa collector and South Goa collector looked only into one case. The
Which
North
is your
Goa
case.
collector looked into my case,
Right.
passed an order
Right.
which was absolutely bad in law, without giving me a full hearing,
Right.
without allowing me to lead evidence or whatever. So that order was passed.
Right.
And that after that order was passed, I challenged that order before the Honorable High Court. The Honorable High Court at Goa stayed that order of the North Goa collector, and the matter was pending in the High Court for almost 2 years, and then the High Court passed an order directing the central government to give me a hearing.
Right.
And to pass appropriate orders, and the High Court in its order had made it very clear what the central government has to decide. All the points were laid out.
Right.
So
The High
since-
Court did say that.
yes,
Okay.
in my order.
Right.
So that was the direction given to the central government, but there was no time-bound directions. So
Do you
there were,
remember some of those directions?
yeah, various directions to hear me on all the grounds.
okay.
All the grounds were laid down.
Okay.
So as there was no news from the central government, I decided to travel all the way to Lisbon and see whether my birth is registered there.
Right.
So when I went to the authorities there, they said, yes, you are registered here. So I immediately opted. I took the carta on the following day. I took the passport.
Who registered you then?
So there was no evidence of who registered, but it was done
There.
legally. My thing was there.
Okay.
So I obtained my documents, and then I went to the.
You had not registered.
No. I've never registered myself. So I went with my Portuguese passport, and because the law says that once you acquire the Portuguese passport, you need to surrender the Indian passport at the closest mission.
Right.
So I went to the Portuguese consulate, the Indian consulate in Lisbon. So the instructions there were that they should not accept any surrender. So they said, you go to Goa and surrender, but I said, you give me something in return. So I have all that thing that they asked me to come here. They issued me a X1 visa of 1 year. I came on that X1 visa and applied for my OCI. I surrendered my Indian passport, did my cancellation of my voter's card, the nil certificate about the ration card, and I applied for my OCI.
You were lucky you applied before the
Now,
circular.
Sujoy, so now from what Irish says,
Yeah.
it is very clear about what I have said, that you require a notice, you require an inquiry. Now, if our High Court has already passed orders that in order to determine whether you are Portuguese or Indian or whatever,
Right.
an inquiry is required, it has directed the central government to hold an inquiry. How does the passport officer cancel the citizenship, the citizenship of others without an inquiry when there are directions?
Iris's case itself is a very important.
It sets the
benchmark.
precedent. It
Yes.
sets the precedent.
Yes.
It means our passport officer is aware. He must have been a party to that petition. So how do they pass this, summarily terminate Indian citizenship? It is obvious
Passport
now.
officer was not a party,
Yeah.
because my challenge was the central government and the North Goa collector
So in any
and
case,
the Goa government.
central government order is binding on the passport
Yes,
officer.
of
It
course,
represents the central government. So therefore, it means they knowingly they are playing mischief. Knowingly, the passport officer is playing mischief to terminate the citizenship of Goans who are transcribed, whose births are transcribed in Portugal. This is not mischief, knowing mischief, consciously being done.
I'll also bring in another very interesting case of Kaito Silva, the former MLA of Benoli. Now, in Kaito's case, also there were these complaints that he was a Portuguese citizen by virtue of his birth being registered there. And when the Central Registry of Portugal did confirm that his birth was registered there, then of course his whole MLA-ship came into doubt and there were inquiries. Kaito challenged this in both the Goa High Court as well as the Delhi High Court. He managed to win in both these cases where the courts ruled in his favor, and they actually quashed the order of the Central Registry and said that your registration in the Central Registry does not necessarily mean that you are a Portuguese citizen. That's the view that both the high courts took.
Where is that order, judgment?
The judgment, I mean, it's not with me
No,
right now.
I would like to have a look at it. That more or less confirms what I am saying.
Correct. But that is exactly. But that is a fact that Kaito won in. both the
No, I
cases.
would like to have a look
sure,
at it.
sure.
I was
Okay.
not aware that a judgment is passed.
Okay, so a judgment was passed. I'll go further than this. However, at the same time, while passing the judgment, the court also said that we would like to reach out to the MHA to throw more light on this matter because it's a contentious issue. We would like the MHA also to delve into this issue. We are passing our judgment in this particular case. The MHA, in response to that court's directive or suggestion, decided to ask the North Goa and the South Goa collector to look at all cases on a case-by-case basis and give specific judgments on each case. So the issue here is that the North Goa and the South Goa collector, they are authorized, empowered to look into these cases and see whether this registration means acquiring of citizenship or not. This is also a matter. So the point is that there are so many cases or so many facts which point to the fact that the passport officer here cannot summarily on the basis of a circular be doing this.
No, but that order of the central government appointing the North Goa and the South Goa collector, if I clearly remember, that order was valid only for 1 year. It was not a permanent sort of thing. You know? So
the issue that even if it was valid for 1 year, the underlying motive or the underlying reasoning that we can see here is that there is no blanket power given to the passport officer to go by this particular clause in the circular when there are other antecedents and other precedents, existing for them to do this. And then, as Radha has explained, the Citizenship Act is also
it's all in.
See, because this circular that was issued by the MHA, I don't know, because they are seized over this whole matter for the last.
Are you sure this circular was only for 1 year? The MHA
yes,
order was only for 1 year?
No, the appointing the North Goa and South Goa collector for a term of 1 year.
Okay.
It was now, but this because we in fact cannot blame the passport officer. We need to question this guy who has issued this circular from Delhi, because they are fully aware of this whole issue.
Yes.
Because in 2015,
Yes.
a team of the central government officers, top officers, headed by the Additional Secretary Foreigners Branch,
Right.
he had visited, the whole team visited.
Right.
So they are fully aware of this whole issue
Right.
from 2015.
Right, right, right. Okay.
See, Sujoy,
Yes.
see, this committee is not just a committee created by the High Court.
Right.
Now, Rule 26
Yeah.
of the Citizenship Rule 2009 provides a committee of inquiry appointed under Section 10 of the Citizenship Act shall, while holding its inquiry under Section 6 of that section, follow the procedure laid down in Schedule 2.
Right.
So, Section 10 of the Citizenship Act requires constitution of a committee whenever there is a dispute to refer to it.
Section 10 of the
Citizenship Act.
Okay.
And 26 requires the procedure laid down, the schedule.
Right.
So therefore, the law mandates what is to be done.
What is very, very ironical here is that they have essentially said, in respect of cases falling under category 2.5, the passports may be revoked by invoking Section 10 of the Portuguese Passports Act.
Section 10 provides the rules, you know.
There's the
How-
Passports Act, not the Citizenship Act. Okay.
This I am talking of Section 10 only.
Of the Passports Act.
Yes, committee of inquiry appointed under Section 10 shall, while holding the inquiry under subsection 6 of the section, follow the procedure laid down in Schedule 2.
So this is a very important point in the discussion. I think we should highlight this as a very big news point.
Yes.
The fact that circular very clearly says that the passports have to be revoked by invoking Section 10 of the Passports Act.
Yes,
That's
and it
section-
provides for appointment of inquiry.
Inquiry.
So here is the thing is, if people go to court, this will fall flat in the court itself.
Correct.
The
I've
issue-
been saying this.
Because if you look at even the circular, if you look at go by the circular also states that the revocation can happen only under Section 10 of the Passports Act.
Correct.
And Section 10 of the Passports Act very categorically provides for inquiry.
That's why I was saying that this circular is ultra virus, is violative of the rule, of the law, and of the Constitution,
Right.
of the Citizenship Act, of the Citizenship Rule,
Yeah.
and the Constitution. This is violative of all three.
Okay.
Therefore, it will fall flat. I mean, the orders will fall
Kennedy
flat.
and Joseph, says both of your people's representatives, now please tell us, in the light of all that the two eminent lawyers have said and all that we have found out in the course of this discussion, how do you approach this whole situation now, and what would you like to do, because you all are public figures who are helping people who are in this? What does this discussion give you? What are your takeaways, and how are you further enabled to take further action?
I think basically, see, as a lot of injustice is being done to the people.
Right.
Somehow they must be able to get relief from the situation that they are facing now.
Yeah.
We are, of course, we will be meeting our legal experts like Radha and Iris and others, and take their opinion on this and how to take this thing forward.
Yeah.
As he said, obviously there are loopholes into the circular that they have done, which I also feel like it's like, you know, absurd. One day the law is there.
No, see, the circular need not be ultra-virus, but the interpretation of the circular is completely illegal.
Yes.
The circular may or may not be ultra-virus, because the circular says you invoke Section 10.
Yes.
And Section 10 very clearly calls for inquiry. So the circular itself may not be ultra-virus.
So the
the second
passport officer
Yeah,
has acted in violation of the circular.
correct.
He ought to know what the Section 10 says.
Correct.
Exactly.
Correct. So, okay, so in the sense that after what you've learned today, what would you like to do?
Now the next point is, okay, I think the next argument of ours should be, why is the OCI being denied? Okay, we have settled on why the revocation and all that. Why is the OCI being denied to the people who have been revoked?
Correct.
Because see, I think the OCI is the icing on the Portuguese passport, so called.
Right.
Without the OCI, there is no charm for the Portuguese
Sure,
passport, at
sure.
least for Indians.
Sure.
Basically, I think at least half of the Indians will not apply for the Portuguese passport if the OCI option is not available.
denied.
Right.
You understand? So the OCI, people are applying for the Portuguese passport knowing that they'll be able to apply for the OCI. Now you are taking away that right from them. Now my question is, okay, you have revoked the birth of an Indian citizen is, I think, is done by his birth certificate and his Indian passport.
Right.
Okay, you revoked my passport, but you can't revoke my
Birth.
Birth.
Okay, you can't revoke my birth.
Okay.
So my birth, you can't revoke my origin of birth. So my OCI cannot be denied. I have the right to apply for it. I think that's it.
Before we close, I'd just like to bring in one more aspect of this whole thing which we have not addressed here. Now, the issue is going beyond all this. Let us all, I mean, in the sense that do we at least admit that while what is happening now is unfair, there is another argument which says that many Goans have taken advantage and have misused this privilege and have kept their feet on both boats. There are people who have government jobs here, who've taken leave of absence, gone to England or Portugal and others, worked there while keeping their government jobs intact, coming back and getting it. There are police officers who've done it and so on and so forth. The issue is, a lot of people are saying that look, there has to be some way or some law to prevent this misuse of this privilege. In the sense that many of them are in England getting rights under there, getting rights under NHS and so on and so forth, continuing to keep their Indian passports here and acquiring and getting the billet and get on the card. So the idea here is that should we also look at that aspect of it while admitting the gross unfairness of what is happening here?
So basically, let's understand what is the mindset of a Goan, average Goan.
Right.
Let's analyze that. Let's break it down to see average Goan. Why does he do this? Now, the parents do this for their children.
Right.
It's a very clear fact for them to have a better opportunity, better exposure. They have 45 countries to go to. They can choose where they want to go. They either go to study or they go to work. Now,
But you renounce your Indian citizenship. You renounce your Indian citizenship.
Yeah.
Not have your feet on both boats.
yeah, correct. And I'm looking at renouncing your citizenship, not keeping your feet on both boats.
I'm talking of those who keep their feet on both
No,
boats.
let's keep that aside for the moment. But I just want to highlight this. Why? Is because our government should look at this as a big advantage. Now, if at all everybody is given a OCI. Now, why OCI is given? Because people have got their they've got their entire estate here.
There is no dispute on the OCI, Joseph. What you're saying is absolutely correct.
Correct.
I mean, on that we are settled. We are on the same boat.
Right.
I'm only talking of those who have their Indian passports and the Portuguese citizenship cards, the Cartão, and they use the Cartão there. You take the benefits from a foreign
Taking from
country.
both the countries.
See, I think there's nothing wrong with that. As I have said from the beginning,
Huh.
the law permits us both nationalities, Portuguese citizenship, because it has not been taken away from us. We have not voluntarily acquired it. If the law permits me to have two citizenship, why must I not take advantage of it?
The Indian Constitution does not permit.
No, that is what I'm trying to tell you. The Indian law, as far as we Goans are concerned, see what happens if I have been a citizen of Portugal till 1961,
Right.
December 1961.
Right.
That citizenship of mine has not been taken away. I continue to be a Portuguese citizen.
Right.
Now, this may not apply to those who are Indians as in 1947 at the
Right,
time of partition.
right.
For us, we are a special case
Right.
where we have the benefit of being citizens of both countries.
Correct.
According to me, under our law, we continue to be Indian citizens. Under Portuguese law, we continue to be foreign citizens. Therefore, I am glad that Goans take advantage of both and that they are permitted to stand on two ships. Let them stand when. Why should you object or I object?
Okay. What are your views on this?
I feel that right now is how can our government actually do about
Right.
this situation?
Right.
Okay. Now, since this circular came in,
Right.
like okay, people were caught on the wrong foot.
Right.
They were not. There was no time given, or
To delve into
there
these
was
things,
no
yes.
public. The circular was not put to public domain. They should have given a time period
Got it.
for them to act on.
Right.
Nothing of this sort was done.
So it was very sudden, and
Yeah,
and that has led to the
No,
confusion.
I feel that the government should now intervene in the matter with the Minister of External
And
Affairs
sort this out.
and sort this out and give them a period of time to sort this.
Okay.
or-
Iris, your famous last words.
Yeah, I'm in total consonance with what Radha has said.
Right.
I, for example, was born in 1960. I was born a Portuguese. Okay. Now I've personally clarified everything. I'm officially a Portuguese. Okay, and I will continue to be with my OCI. Okay, which suits what I plan to do.
Right.
Because what I plan to do is to share time in Lisbon, London, and Goa. So
Right.
that's the way it will go.
Right. Okay, we've run out of time and we need to close this. But before we end, I just thank all the panelists for their deep insights into all these points. I'm sure the problem has not got resolved, but we are in a better place to understand the complexities and details that that emerge from this kind of a discussion. The issue is that as far as Goans born before 1961 is concerned, the right to acquire Portuguese citizenship formally by virtue of a passport, or as Radha says, the Portuguese citizenship is ingrained in them by virtue of their birth, registered there or transcribed thereof. These are special privileges that have not been taken away. So as most people here agree, that unless these privileges are taken away, they continue to exist. And the issue is that the denial of these privileges by virtue of new circulars and laws is not applicable. However, what is interesting, or not interesting, what is important here is that there is no absolute clarity on each of these issues. While of course Radha has this point of view which is very strong, but the government, the MEA, needs to very clearly lay down, and it is important for everybody to understand. I mean, learned people will know about it, but every Goan especially should understand and then take proper decisions based on that understanding as to at what point of time will you be considered as a Portuguese national. Let that be completely clarified, in the sense that Radha has a strong view, all of us have our views and interpretation of what the situation is, but let it be absolutely clarified, not necessarily by India but by Portugal as well, as to at what stage are you considered as a Portuguese citizen. And if Portugal says that your birth is registered and hence you are considered a citizen, the Indian government must also specify very clearly as to what the Indian government's point of view is. Because otherwise, if there's no clarity and there's a grey area, the problem arises when there's a grey area, it leaves the door open for any kind of interpretation. And I think that needs to be sorted out immediately. And I think the matter should certainly go to court, but I think there should be a proper deliberation on this. A highly empowered committee of people can be formed, and I hope that committee includes people from Goa who will be very learned. And let there be a final proper documentation done to ensure that Goans are not troubled any longer. That is very important, because at the end of the day, you take a lot of decisions, there's a lot of hardships involved, and then when you suddenly become a stateless citizen in your own country, that's not a nice thing. It affects your family, it affects your children, and I think that's very, very important. I thank all the panelists again for their deep insights, and we'll keep this discussion going because it's very important for Goa.